Before we start, let me be clear about something. This isn't theory, and it's definitely not recycled advice you've heard 100 times before. Everything you're about to hear comes from real patterns people are dealing with right now, including mistakes that quietly cost hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars a year without anyone noticing. If you've ever felt like money is slipping through your hands even when you're being careful, this will explain exactly why, and more importantly, how to fix it in a way that actually works in real life. By the end of this, you won't just see spending differently. You'll start making decisions that feel clearer, faster, and harder to manipulate. You've felt this before. You're standing there, phone in hand, about to buy something. Maybe it's a $40 shirt, maybe it's a quick meal, maybe it's something small that shouldn't even matter, and something in your head pauses. Not a full stop, just a flicker, just enough to interrupt the autopilot. A quiet question that shows up uninvited. Is this actually worth it? And almost instantly, another voice tries to shut it down. Don't overthink it, it's fine, just buy it. Most people override that first signal, not because they're careless, but because they've been trained to distrust it, to assume hesitation equals scarcity mindset, or worse, failure. But here's what's actually happening. That pause is not weakness, it's pattern recognition. Your expectations were built in a different pricing environment, and now the environment has changed faster than your mental model. So instead of price reflecting value, you're seeing price drift away from value, and your brain is trying to recalibrate in real time. That friction you feel is not confusion, it's mismatch. And once you understand that, everything about modern spending starts to look different. Because the problem isn't that people suddenly became worse with money. It's that companies got better at separating what something costs from what it's actually worth. And they're betting you won't notice fast enough to change your behavior. Today we're going to break that pattern, not to shame spending, but to show you exactly where the equation stopped making sense and how to fix it in ways that actually work in real life. The hidden shift nobody talks about. Over the last few years, prices have risen across categories, but quality hasn't kept pace. In many cases, it has quietly declined. Economists usually talk about inflation in terms of price, but what people feel day to day is something more subtle. Paying more and getting less, sometimes less quantity, sometimes less durability, sometimes just less satisfaction. And layered on top of that is anchoring. Your brain's still comparing today's price to what something used to cost, not what it should cost now. So when something feels off, people assume the issue is themselves. Maybe everything is just expensive now. Maybe this is normal. But it's not that simple. What's happening is strategic pricing combined with perception management, and your expectations haven't fully caught up yet. So let's go category by category and make it concrete. 1. Thrifting isn't automatically cheap anymore. Picture this. You walk into a thrift store expecting a deal. Racks full of possibility. You remember when $30 meant multiple pieces. Real cotton, wool, leather, things that actually lasted years. But now you're flipping tags and seeing $25, $35, sometimes more, for items that feel closer to fast fashion leftovers than durable goods. The resale market is still expanding. ThredUp's 2025 resale report shows continued double-digit growth in secondhand demand. But growth changes behavior, demand increases, pricing follows, and at the same time, the input quality has shifted because more wardrobes are now built on fast fashion. So what gets donated is lower baseline quality. The psychological mechanism here is expectation mismatch. Your brain walks in expecting low price, high value, but the environment delivers mid-price, low to mid-value. That creates cognitive friction. And here's the reframe. Thrifting is no longer a default strategy. It's a search strategy, meaning time becomes part of the cost. If you spend 2 hours digging for one good piece, that time has economic value. Sometimes clearance retail beats secondhand now. Not always, but often enough that you have to check, not assume. Point 2. Luxury no longer guarantees quality. Now go to the opposite extreme. You walk into a luxury store. Everything looks premium. The lighting, the spacing, the smell, the way the product is handed to you. And your brain still carries an old rule. Higher price signals, higher quality. That heuristic worked for decades because it was mostly true. But today the relationship is less reliable. Prices across luxury categories have risen aggressively, while production has scaled globally, which often means standardized manufacturing processes rather than handcrafted differentiation. You can see this shift in broader industry analysis. Bain & Company's luxury reports consistently show growth driven more by pricing power and brand expansion than by fundamental increases in craftsmanship per unit. And that matters, because your brain is still using price as a proxy for quality. The mechanism here is price anchoring. Combined with brand signaling, you expect the price to justify itself, and when the product doesn't feel proportionally better, it creates a subtle but real discomfort. Here's the reframe. Separate signal from substance. Ask what you're actually getting. Materials, stitching, repairability, longevity, not what the brand implies. And here's the line most people miss. Luxury today often optimizes for perception scalability, not durability, which means you're not paying for utility anymore, you're paying for positioning. And the moment you realize that, your entire threshold for worth it starts to shift, micro payoff. That means the expensive option is no longer automatically the better one. It's just the better marketed one. 3. Affordable beauty isn't that affordable anymore. You're in a drugstore grabbing something quick, mascara, foundation, something you don't want to overthink. Historically, this category existed to give you functional quality at a much lower price than prestige brands. But now look at the shelf. Prices have crept up, sometimes sitting within a narrow range of mid-tier or even entry-level premium products. This is tier compression, where budget brands move upward in price, while premium brands hold or slightly increase, shrinking the decision gap. And here's where it gets psychological. Your brain still labels one as cheap and one as expensive, even if the real difference is $5 or less. Research in consumer behavior shows that once categories blur, decision confidence drops, because your mental shortcuts stop working. You feel like you're saving money when you might just be buying a familiar label. Here's the reframe. Compare across tiers, not within them. Check price per use, performance, and ingredients. And use a simple rule. If the difference is under 10%, choose based on quality, not category. Because the hidden trap here is thinking you're being frugal, when you're actually just following outdated price signals. 4. Fast food lost its original purpose. It's late, you're tired, you pull into a drive-thru because that's what you've always done. Fast food used to solve speed, convenience, and low cost at the same time. But the cost part has changed. Data from the US. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that prices for food away from home, especially limited service meals, have continued rising in recent years, even in the latest 12-month window. While grocery alternatives often deliver more food per dollar, the mechanism here is habit persistence. Your behavior is still running a script written when fast food was clearly cheaper. But now that gap has narrowed, or even flipped in some cases. The reframe is simple. Compare total meal value, not just speed, because a rotisserie chicken or prepped grocery meal can feed you multiple times for the same price as one combo meal. And here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of people think they're saving time and money when they're really just buying familiarity at a premium micro payoff. The fastest option used to be the cheapest. Now it's often just the easiest to justify. 5. Streaming quietly recreated cable. Streaming started as a clean alternative. One subscription, low cost, unlimited content. But over time it fragmented. Deloitte's Digital Media Trends report shows that households now subscribe to multiple services, with average monthly spend rising as users stack platforms to access exclusive content. And while it still may be cheaper than traditional cable in some cases, the gap has narrowed significantly in perception and in total spend for many users. The mechanism here is subscription creep combined with mental accounting failure. Each subscription feels small, but your brain doesn't track the cumulative total effectively. The reframe is rotation, not accumulation. One platform at a time. Watch what you need, cancel, move on, because the real cost isn't just money. It's attention and tracking effort. 6. Viral products are engineered to bypass logic. You see something everywhere, same product, same aesthetic, same color. It feels like everyone already owns it. This isn't random. It's engineered. Limited releases, controlled scarcity, algorithmic amplification, all designed to trigger FOMO. Research in psychology shows that perceived exclusion activates strong emotional responses that can override rational evaluation. So not having something feels like losing access to a group, even if the product itself offers no additional functional value. The mechanism is social signaling overriding utility evaluation. The reframe is to ask, would I still want this if no one else could see it? Because if the answer is no, you're not buying value. You're buying visibility, micro payoff. You're not buying better, you're buying more visible. 7. Health products sell perception, not just nutrition. You pick up a protein bar, it says clean, high protein, energy, and your brain assigns higher value instantly. This is the health halo effect, a well-documented bias where one positive attribute increases overall perceived worth. And companies price accordingly. Studies in consumer psychology show that health-labeled products can command significantly higher prices, even when nutritional differences are marginal. Now make it real. Compare cost per gram of protein. A packaged product might cost several dollars for a modest protein amount, while basic foods deliver similar or better nutrition at a fraction of the cost. The mechanism is perception substitution. You're paying for what the product represents rather than what it delivers. The reframe is to break the label. Ignore the front, read the numbers. Cost per nutrient, satiety, actual benefit. Because the uncomfortable truth is this: many healthy products are designed to make you feel like you're making progress, not actually deliver it, and that's why you keep buying them. 8. Fast fashion is no longer cheap enough to justify itself. You buy something inexpensive, wear it a few times, replace it. That was the model. But now prices have risen while durability has declined. And according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the number of times clothing is worn globally has dropped by roughly 36 to 40% over the past 2 decades, meaning cost per wear has increased even if prices look similar. The mechanism is short-term pricing bias, focusing on upfront cost instead of lifetime use. The reframe is cost per use, not sticker price. A higher quality item worn dozens of times is cheaper over time than multiple low-quality replacements. Cheap isn't cheap if you have to keep replacing it. 9. Mid-tier brands blur value and image. These brands sit between fast fashion and luxury, promising better quality, better ethics, better transparency. But pricing has increased while differentiation has sometimes narrowed. Industry transparency reports show that supply chains can overlap across tiers more than consumers assume. While branding maintains a premium narrative, the mechanism is signaling you're buying the story as much as the product. And when those diverge, it creates dissatisfaction that's hard to explain. You wear it, but it doesn't feel worth it. The reframe is outcome-based evaluation. How often do you wear it? How does it hold up? Would you repurchase at the same price? Because if the answer is no, the value didn't match the signal. And here's the line that cuts through all of it. Mid-tier today often sells reassurance, not superiority. 10. Online shopping is being saved by friction. You add something to your cart, it's $40, feels easy. Then checkout hits, shipping, taxes, maybe duties. Suddenly it's $70 or more. Baymard Institute consistently finds that unexpected extra costs are the top reason users abandon carts, often cited by nearly half of shoppers. This is checkout shock. The mechanism is expectation violation. And here's the twist. This friction is actually protecting you. It forces a second evaluation. The reframe is to lean into that pause, not bypass it, because every abandoned cart is money you decided not to spend impulsively. Across all of this, the pattern is simple. Price and value have drifted apart in many everyday categories. Your expectations were built when they were aligned, now they're not. And that tension you feel isn't indecision, it's recalibration. And once you see it, you can use it. The practical reset that actually works. Here's how to apply this immediately. No theory, just usable rules. The 5-second value test. What am I actually getting per use, not per purchase? The replace or rotate rule. Don't stack recurring costs, rotate them. The cost per use question. Estimate realistic usage before buying. The delayed checkout rule. Wait 24 hours on non-essential purchases. And the premium gap rule. If the difference is small, compare value, not labels. These rules don't make you restrictive, they make you accurate. And accuracy is what saves money in a system designed to blur it. You're not bad with money, you're navigating a system where pricing is strategic and perception is engineered. Awareness matters more than discipline, because discipline assumes stable rules, and those rules changed. Once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. And that's your advantage, because now when you pause, you understand it. You're not hesitating, you're recalibrating. And over time, that compounds into better decisions, less waste, and more control over where your money actually goes. Comment the one category you've started questioning the most, and if you want to go deeper, the next video breaks down the exact mental traps that make overpriced things still feel justified, including why your brain defends bad purchases even after you know they're bad. Because once you see that layer, you don't just spend smarter, you stop being influenced without realizing it. Now I'm curious, out of everything we just covered, which category made you stop and rethink your own spending the most? Drop it in the comments, because that's usually where the biggest hidden leak is. And if you want to go deeper, the next video breaks down the exact psychological traps that keep people overspending even when they know better. Things like why your brain defends bad purchases, why just this once turns into a habit, and how subtle pricing tricks keep working on smart people. Once you understand that layer, you don't just spend smarter, you become almost impossible to manipulate. Thanks for watching.